Today, we are doing the New York Jets draft reaction, and they went out and they stuck it with their guns at number 2. They traded away Sam Darnold and selected Zach Wilson, the quarterback from BYU.
Second worst kept secret in the NFL draft after Trevor Lawrence going number 1 to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Wilson's a perfect fit for the system that the Jets are going to employ. He's a quarterback who's on the rise. He was okay in 2019, was spectacular in 2020. Just continued to wow people both in and outside the league with his play. Had a tremendous pro day workout. I still contend that he doesn't have a great vertical arm, but the Jets aren't going to need a quarterback with a great vertical arm for their offense. I mean, it basically comes down to the New York Jets finally being able to develop their quarterback of the future, which they haven't been able to do in the past. Whether it be Sam Darnold, who you just mentioned, whether it be Mark Sanchez, whether it be Chad Pennington, on and on and on. You know, Wilson's got all the goods to be a franchise quarterback. The Jets are going to just have to tap into it and get him to continue to develop his game.
Yeah, and then they traded up from the 23rd pick all the way up to number 14 and drafted Elijah Vera Tucker, the USC offensive tackle, offensive guard hybrid.
Not a surprise. I mean, if you were following us on that night at Pro Football Network, I said that the Jets were going to be looking to move into the top half of round 1 for one of the offensive linemen or cornerbacks. If they started to slide, Vera Tucker slid. The Jets moved up to get him. Minnesota later was able to move down and get the player they wanted, Darrisaw. Listen, I know there were a lot of Jet fans that were upset by this pick because the Jets gave away 2 third-round choices. But when you have the opportunity to get up and grab a player that you think can be potentially outstanding, if not great, then you got to do it. And the fact is Vera Tucker is another piece for that offensive line to build next to 𝗙𝗢𝗥𝗘𝗦, who was a tremendous left tackle last year as a rookie. People will quibble, but you know what? You got to give Joe Douglas the benefit of the doubt based off of what happened with 𝗙𝗢𝗥𝗘 last year. I think it's going to be a terrific duo. I think with Vera Tucker, who played left tackle at USC, he's got some versatility to his game. He's an outstanding athlete. He's very mobile. Again, a good system fit. A zone blocker who can get out in second level and destroy opponents. He's got terrific upside. And like Zach Wilson, he's coming off an outstanding 2020 campaign.
And speaking of Elijahs, they went right back to that well with Elijah Moore, the wide receiver from Ole Miss.
Elijah with an E this time.
Yeah.
I mean, this guy's your home run hitting threat. I had thought all along, I've been told all along, they were looking towards Azeez Ojulari. They went with Elijah Tucker. This is a guy that brings a lot of speed to a Jet receiver corps that needs speed. They signed Corey Davis in free agency. You got Denzel Mims, who's entering his second year, who was hurt at the beginning of 2020, then played incredibly well the second half of the season when he was on the field. You got Jamison Crowder, who is a very sure-handed slot receiver. Now Elijah Moore, he's your deep threat. He's a guy that's going to have safety stepping back off the line or back from their position 5 yards to guard against the deep throw. He's the guy that you can run reverses with. He's someone that's going to be potentially an explosive pass rusher, someone you line up in the slot, someone you line up on the outside. Moore really did a great job or really came into his own last year under Lane Kiffin and that Mississippi offense. He's got a good amount of upside. Not the biggest guy in the world, but he is super fast, and he's going to be tough to cover in the NFL.
Yeah, and I love that you brought up about Elijah Vera Tucker, his ability as a zone blocker. The next draft selection that they had was Michael Carter, the UNC running back, who I think is a perfect fit for that zone rushing offense.
You know, we had said at Pro Football Network since the Senior Bowl, I knew about the Jets' interest in Carter. And I think when they were surprised that he was there, still available at the top of round 2. Hardly any running backs went in round 3, even though a lot were projected to go at the bottom half of day 2. So when Carter was there, it was a natural fit. He's a terrific ball carrier. He's got great vision. He will pick and choose his way on the inside. He's got enough quickness to turn the corner. He's an outstanding pass catcher. He's also gives it up as a blocker. Was never the feature runner at North Carolina, but he's not going to have to be the feature runner in the Jets offensive system or with the Jets in the offensive system they're running. I thought this was a great pick. I like Carter. I think he's going to be a big surprise next year as a rookie.
And then, in round 5, they went with Jamien Sherwood, the Auburn safety. After that, they went with another safety, another Michael Carter, the Duke safety. And then they finished up that with Jason Pinnock, the corner from Pittsburgh.
Except for Pinnock, who is a terrific cornerback who lacks speed and has got a polished game, a lot of projection here. I mean, Sherwood is a nice size safety who I believe they're going to move to outside linebacker. Michael Carter's shown flashes at Duke, although he's had a lot of injuries. He's got great upside, but he's never been able to stay healthy. you know, a lot of risk if you want to with these selections, but it is the 5th round. Of the 3 you mentioned, Pinnock is the most polished and the most NFL ready.
And then moving on to the 6th round, they also had 3 selections in the 6th round: Hamza Nasirildeen, Brandon Eccles, and Jonathan Marshall.
Yeah, and Nasirildeen, like Sherwood, is a guy who's a nice size, strong safety who they're going to project to outside linebacker, which I really think is going to be his best position. Because if you're watching Nasirildeen play, I know a lot of people like him, but he can't make plays in reverse. He's really good facing the action or up the field, not good in coverage. They're going to try him at safety. I really like the Eccles pick a lot. I think this is the Jets' dime back of the future. He's fast. He's explosive. He was a terrific playmaker for Kentucky in 2019. They moved him out of that position last year and slotted Kelvin Joseph, who was a 2nd-round pick, in. But still, Eccles has got the speed, the athleticism, and the intuition to be a consistent dime back in the NFL. Jonathan Marshall's an interesting guy. I wouldn't be surprised to see if he makes the active roster. Was kind of out of place last year as a pure nose tackle at Arkansas, but he's athletic. He plays with great leverage and fundamentals. And I think the way the Jets use their 3-man front or their 4-man, when they have a 3-man front in almost a 1-gap type of system, I think Marshall's a guy who can really flourish in that sort of scheme. Wouldn't be surprised to see if he makes an active roster come September.
And then did any of the UDFA signings for the New York Jets really catch your attention?
You know, the Jets in the past have used UDFA as roster fodder, but I thought they did an outstanding job this year. Obviously, the big name would be 𝗙𝗢𝗢𝗓𝗏, who they gave a huge guaranteed first-year salary to. The tight end from Mississippi kind of pairs up with his receiver teammate, Elijah Moore. I would be shocked if 𝗙𝗢𝗢𝗓𝗏 is not on the active roster come September. The only way he's not on the active roster is if he gets injured. He's someone who was legitimately a mid-round choice. He's an outstanding pass catcher. Didn't get to run for scouts before the draft, which I think really hurt him. If he had run, probably would have ended up in that 4th round area. You watch the Alabama game. I think he had 180 yards receiving in that one single game. So that is a player who they signed as an undrafted free agent who I would expect to make the active roster. Hamilcar Rashed Jr. was an outstanding pass rusher, I should say. Had he entered the 2020 draft, he's probably a 4th-round pick. Had some gaudy numbers at Oregon State in 2019. Kind of fell off the cliff last year. At times looked like he didn't even want to be on the field. But again, someone who I think can make the active roster as a situational pass rusher. Jets did a great job with their UDFAs. Isaiah Dunn of Oregon State, the corner, I think will have a chance to make it. Grant Hermans, I should say. Grant Hermans was a different Purdue tackle. Grant Hermans, the right tackle prospect. If he doesn't make the active roster, I think he'll be on the practice squad this year. Good job by Joe Douglas after the draft.
And how did you feel about the draft overall for Joe Douglas, the Jets overall draft?
I like the first 4 picks a lot. I think the first 4 picks are almost locks, not only just to make the team, but to be productive rookies. I think rounds 4 and 5, I think they got a little bit too cute with themselves. Lost out on Ben Mason from Michigan because they went with Nasirildeen, or they actually went with some of the 5th-round picks. I think Ben Mason would have been a good pick. I thought there were some other cornerbacks that they could have selected, maybe another receiver. There's a lot of risk in day 3, but that's the way it is when you're talking about 5th or 6th round. Those are guys who, you know, if you're able to harvest something out of them, you know, good for you, but it's not expected.
As always, Tony, thank you so much for coming by and dropping all of that knowledge that you have about the NFL draft. This was the draft reaction for the 2021 New York Jets.